Hey, what's going on, folks? Out there in YouTube land, we're going to be talking about character sheets today. Character sheets! They're one of the most important tools in your arsenal at the table. As a storyteller, you're going to need to use them to keep track of all of your bad guys, things like that, stat blocks and cool stuff they can do, and special abilities and legendary actions, and how good they are at all the various things. And players, a character sheet is kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like the game before the game, right? Like, you get your character, you've got this cool idea, you've got all of these things that you'd like your character to do, and you need some place to take all of those ideas, all of that intention, and set it down so that you can refer to it during the game. Now, the D&D 5th edition 2024 character sheet is, I don't know, it's like this crystallization. It's like after years and years and years, we've got it kind of like down to a science. Like, what are the things that you absolutely have to put on a character sheet so that people can refer to it quickly and easily? And also so people can have fun playing around with their characters and trying new stuff and putting new stuff on there. So D&D Beyond they've got great character sheets, but there are a lot of awesome resources for all different kinds of character sheets. And this is just to clarify, today we're talking about the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons character sheet. So if that isn't your jam, check out one of our other videos. We've got a lot of other videos. Go to those guys. All right. So like I was saying, the 2024 D&D sheet is like this crystallization of all of these older ideas sort of put together and cut down and put in one place. Like, you've got attributes like strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Just the way they've broken down how to achieve various types and kinds of feats that your character can do and how good they are at doing those feats. And we're not talking about skills. We'll get into that. Skills are a later thing, but right off the bat, these attributes are how good your character is at base. Without any kind of skill, just out of the box, how good is your guy at swinging a sword? How good is your guy at jumping? How good is your guy at taking a hit or figuring out how to not take a hit, or deciphering evil books, or chatting their way into someone's upstairs place or their downstairs place, or whatever kind of place? Maybe we don't go into places. All right, so character strength. This is how strong your character is. This is how much your character can lift and pick up. This is going to be how hard your character can hit and what their chances are of actually landing a hit. So all of that stuff is kind of wrapped up into strength. Now, there is one of the things I'll have to touch on for Dungeons & Dragons. You have a number that is normally between like 8 and 20, and that's your attribute number. And from that, we get the attribute modifier. But that's all a holdover, right? Like, that's from older editions. I mean, really, so you don't use your attribute number for most anything in 5th edition D&D anymore. It just gives you that modifier, and that modifier is the thing that you add to all of your other stuff. So
how do you get the number you pick for strength?
So there are a couple of ways that you can determine what the numbers are going to be for your attributes. There is a rolling mechanic that you can use, and a lot of folks that play older school types of games, they utilize a rolling mechanic where they roll 3d6, or if your DM's cool about it, 4d6, or if they're really cool about it, 5d6. And then you take the highest 3 dice, and then you plug those in, and that's going to give you your base statistic number. The other way you can do it, if you want a game that's more balanced, you want a game that's a little bit more even and no one feels like they're getting honestly kind of screwed out of points. Then there's a point buy mechanic, or you can use the standard array, which is a couple of standard numbers that you use to distribute amongst those attributes. And those numbers we're going to display. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. I really should know what they are off the top of my head, but I do not know what they are off the top of my head. All right. So that was kind of what strength is for. Strength, you do all of the strong stuff with strength. It's really a bad way to define it. But anything that you can muscle, or any kind of stuff that's up close and personal, melee combat-y stuff, you're going to use strength for. Next up, we have your dexterity. Dexterity is your physical agility, your precision when it comes to making ranged attacks, your ability to leap with daring do out of the way of danger. That's normally what you use agility for. And your agility, it works mostly the same way as your strength. Also, know that agility is also the sneaky person skill. You want to run, you want to hide, use agility. You want to go into someone's pockets and pull their stuff out, agility. You want to pick a lock, you want to maneuver all of that stuff and get into the place without anyone noticing, agility. You're going to be using agility for a lot of your stuff. So it's going to be important for you if you're going to be playing like a roguey, thiefy sort of character type, or like a rangery character type. If you're going to be far away, shooting like bows and arrows. For the most part, you can do most of the stuff that you would want to do with strength with agility. Agility is really, really versatile. Next up, we've got Constitution. So Constitution is like your character's innate toughness, their ability to gut through pain and make their way through trials and tribulations that would quite frankly lay low most of your average mortals, or perhaps your character, like some of the characters in popular fiction. They're an individual that is sickly and unable to even weather a common cold. Those characters have a low Constitution score. Now, your Constitution score, it plays into your character's hit points. So it's really important if you're like a squishy class, or if you're like a caster class. Oh, also, concentration checks. Constitution is super big on concentration checks. So if you're a caster type, you're going to want to have probably a decent Constitution score. You're going to want to have a Constitution score that's pretty beefy, so that you can take all the hits and keep concentrating, keep your mind controlled, paying attention to those spells. Next up, you have your intelligence. Intelligence is really important for determining your intelligence stuff. A lot of the stuff that you're going to be doing, if you're going to be investigating things or knowing things about lore and history and things like that, and you want to be a smartsy person, intelligence is going to be your go-to stat for that. It's a big deal for spellcasters. It is one of the traits that will determine how difficult it is for people to overcome your I guess like your spells. It's part of your spell save modifier. There is a formula for that. The formula is going to be down here somewhere. Somewhere up here. It's 8 plus your intelligence modifier plus your proficiency bonus. That's what it is. Next up, we have wisdom. Wisdom is another caster stat, and wisdom is also like your character's general perception, your ability to pay attention to the world around you and take in all of that information. That's what your wisdom stat is. It's also kind of representative of your characters, like will, sense of self, your ability to push out any sort of mental influences and things like that. You're going to use will for wisdom. You're going to use wisdom. That's what it is. You're going to use your wisdom modifier for that. Also, if you're someone who uses wisdom to cast spells like a cleric or like a druid or a ranger, I know what these are. You're going to be using wisdom for that stat. And again, that's going to be 8 plus your wisdom modifier plus your proficiency bonus. Next up, you have charisma. Charisma is kind of, honestly, I had the biggest problem with charisma because I always thought that charisma was just how physically hot your character was. Like, they just really looked like put together, or, people who were just naturally like attractive. I think now in my, much more older years, I think charisma is the swagger that your character has, how they carry themselves, their ability to navigate difficult social situations, their ability to make friends, communicate cleanly with other people. Charisma is an incredibly important stat, especially in this edition of Dungeons & Dragons. If you're a bard or you're a warlock and you're someone who makes deals with folks, or demons, you're going to want to have a decent charisma score. Your charisma is going to determine what your spell save is for your warlocky spells and for your sorcerer spells, and if you're a paladins for your paladin stuff, and also if you're a bard for your bard stuff. So a lot of stuff. So those are our main attributes. Next, we'll be moving on to the area of your character sheet, which is inspiration. Inspiration's great. Inspiration allows you to reroll checks. You can normally only hold one unless you're playing a different module or your DM is super duper cool, or that's just the way they run things. You got one inspiration. It allows you to reroll a check. Super great, useful. That's inspiration. Proficiency bonus. So your proficiency bonus is like, it's kind of like how skilled your character is at doing the things they're good at, and it rises with your level. Typically it raises at the milestone levels for characters, which happens like in the book, it'll tell you when your proficiency bonus goes up, but it adds to the skills that your character has selected as the things that they themselves are good at. If you're a barbarian, you have athletics linked, selected as one of the skills that your character is good at. You add your proficiency bonus to your strength. Boom, you mush those together, and that's the modifier that you roll when you roll that d20 and you make those particular checks. Same thing goes with dexterity and acrobatics, or intelligence. You don't really roll constitution super much. Constitution doesn't combine with any skills. It doesn't really do that. But if you're using it, it's like you making an investigation check with intelligence, or using wisdom to kind of check things out, and these are all your skills, then you're going to add your proficiency bonus to that. It plays a big deal in your ability to hit things. You add your proficiency bonus to your ability to swing a sword or a staff, or throw snowballs or stones or fire at people. You utilize your proficiency bonus is part of the formula that you'll use to do that kind of stuff. It also adds to saves. We'll get into saves directly next. Next we go into saves. So in this game, dangerous stuff happens, and you'll have to make a saving throw to make sure that you get out of the way or avoid that dangerous shit that's about to befall your character. And this can happen a bunch of different ways. In older versions of Dungeons & Dragons, they were different. They weren't really based on your attributes. These ones are based on your attributes. I think these ones are a little bit more legible. But in older versions of Dungeons & Dragons, it was like paralysis and death and poison, or maybe death was poison. I don't know. Something was poison. There was a magic implements roll. So if you had like wands or something like that, that was a number you would check against. And there was also just a magic save that your character had to make. This one, they're just tied directly to your attributes. So you've got strength. So you would make a strength saving throw if you were trying to hold on to something or keep something tight against you. Any time when someone was trying to rip something out of your hands, you'd be making a strength saving throw to make sure that stuff didn't happen. Dexterity saving throws, you make these all the time in the game. If there's something coming at you, or a fireball, or no ground, you're in a situation where the ground's falling away, or you're about to trip and fall, you're trying to, not necessarily bounce on something, but it could be bounce. You're making, a dexterity saving throw. I used to say reflex saving throw all the time. That was in an older edition. Now it's dexterity saving throw. I still mess it up all the time. Constitution saving throw. You're making con saves a bunch of the time. Let's say someone poisons you, or you're a magician, or some kind of wizard, and you get hit with an arrow or punched in the face by a big old barbarian. You're going to be making a Constitution saving throw to make sure you hold on to the spell that you're concentrating on. Intelligence saving throws. So intelligence saving throws are weird. You don't make them a lot, but when you need to make an intelligence saving throw, you really have to make an intelligence saving throw. There are some effects that certain types of monsters can do that if you can't make an intellect save, an intelligence save, you're just gonna be dead, probably, or maybe dead in a couple of turns, kind of dead. But mostly things like psychic effects, stuff like that, things that directly influence your ability to hold thoughts, think logically, think clearly. Those sorts of things are intelligence saving throws. Next up, you have your wisdom saves. Your wisdom save is your will save. So if someone is trying to make you do something that you do not want to do with magic, then you use your will save, your wisdom save, to check against that. If someone's trying to charm you or use suggestion or just kind of like mess you up with their probably more than normal, probably kind of arcane powers and abilities, that's what you'll be using your wisdom saving throw. Charisma saving throw. Charisma saving throws are also kind of like intelligence saving throws. I don't, use a bunch of them, but when they come up, they're kind of important. I would imagine that you would make a charisma saving throw if you're trying to hold on to your poise, hold on to your composure, really, really be slick in a situation where something's got you flustered. Maybe making a charisma saving throw would be the right pick in that particular situation. Moving straight on down, we've got your skills. You've got a bunch of skills and they all map to a particular attribute. So first off, you've got acrobatics. Acrobatics is normally combined with dexterity. So they've got attributes that they combine with normally. I like it when you can sort of have things where they map to other attributes in different situations. But I mean, that's a me thing, and in storytellers, they kind of do their own thing. So that's a personal note. Your mileage may vary. You do it however you want to do it. It's your game, it's your table. You're running the game and you're making all the rules. So we've got acrobatics, which is like flipping around and jumping and stuff, balancing on top of things. If you're moving across a tightrope, it's going to be acrobatics. Animal handling, dealing and leading animals. If you're someone that is a drover, or you can have to control a cart, I would say that would be an animal handling check. I don't think you don't really have to make ride checks most of the time. Animal handling is a fun skill. I don't feel like you see it as much utilized in play enough, because I mean, in this game, you're interacting in a fantasy world. There are tons of animals. Animals are cool. They can do all kinds of things. I think that, it's one of those skills that should be utilized more in game. Arcana. Arcana is your knowledge of the old arts and the secret ways and the things that, your everyday walking around civilians aren't going to know. Arcana is going to cover that stuff. Those sorts of bits of super secret, wisdom and information. It is the purview of wizards and mages. That's what Arcana is generally used for. And I mean, it gets a lot of mileage. Knowing that magical stuff, when you guys come across a magical glyph or magical writing, or all that really common, super obscure magical shit you'll run into in a dungeon, is kind of clutch. Next up, we've got athletics. So athletics is super important. It's not as important as it used to be in just 5th edition. 2024, athletics was used in opposed grapple checks. That's not the case anymore. That's just, now it's just, we'll get to that later on, but that isn't the case anymore. But you use, athletics for doing all of your athletic stuff. If you're trying to swim, I mean, you're going to have to make athletics checks. If you're trying to jump across something, I'd make people make athletics checks. If you're trying to climb up something, you don't have a climb speed. Having a climb speed is super clutch. But if you don't have a climb speed, you're making athletics checks to do that sort of stuff. Next up, we've got deception. Deception is your ability to lie to people and shit. So if you're someone who's kind of a conniver or a con person, or someone who's got their own ideas in their heads about manipulating others and positioning where they want, just so they've got their plans set up, or they're pretending to be other people, deception is a skill that you're going to want to have. History is used with intelligence if you want to know, fun facts about the world and the universe you're interacting with. History is a great way to know what has come before. Also, there's weirdly some overlap with Arcana, so maybe you can make you can have a conversation with your DM or GM or however you want to do it, and ask them if you can use history to figure out some piece of the larger picture of the world. Insight. So if you want to know what other people are thinking, or what they're going to do, or what their body language is telling you that they're going to do, insight is the skill that you're going to want to have. It allows you to gauge the mental and emotional positioning of other people, creatures, and things like that. And it's one of the skills that I think receives a lot of play in the game. Intimidation. If you're big and you're strong and you want to make people do stuff, then you use intimidation to do it. It's your ability to kind of not necessarily bully people, but kind of bully people. It's your ability to hold ground and make people feel like they really need to listen to what you're going to say. Otherwise, things are going to go really badly for them. That's what intimidation is used for. And normally it pairs with your charisma bonus, but now barbarians can use it with strength if they're raging. It's so cool. All right, next up. Also, I mean, sometimes your DM or GM will be super cool about it and let you pair intimidation with strength or another particular kind of like ability score. If you're someone who's like strong and big and who should be like feel really scary, but isn't particularly scary. Next up, we've got investigation. Investigation is your ability to, go into a room and really do like the Sherlock Holmes kind of thing, where you're looking along the entirety of the space. You notice at the edge of the carpet, there's a bit of a blood stain. You notice a window frame that's a bit out of place. You notice that there's a number of things, like a jar on the mantle of the fireplace. Investigation is going to help you see those things, and also it might give you insights as to why those things have happened or why those things are like that. Medicine's good for healing checks. If someone's messed up or someone's sick, you can make diagnosis checks to see how they're doing. Normally plays, I guess, like with intelligence. If you're a healer type, it's good to have just, on top of anything, like, your ability to, I guess, like cure wounds, knowing how to diagnose, stitch people up if you're out of magic, is just a good thing to have. Next up, we've got nature. It's about knowing stuff in the wild and knowing nature stuff. It's different from survival, and also it uses intelligence. I don't understand that, but I usually map it to wisdom because I feel like it pairs with all of the nature-y style folks like druids and like rangers. They tend to have higher wisdom because that's connected to their magic-y stats. So normally I'll map it to that, but nature is how you go out and identify, poisonous plants or, things you can eat or things you can't eat. And it's really important to know if you can't eat something in a situation, because generally speaking, PCs aren't immune to poison. So next up, we've got perception. Perception is also one of the most important skills in the game. And next to athletics, it comes up the most. You're going to be using perception to just get a basic general read of the situation around you. You can see if there are missing stones in walls, or if there's a trap that's coming up, or someone's coming at you with a knife, someone's skulking about in the shadows. Utilize perception to see exactly how to navigate those situations, or that situation's about to happen, and then you choose how you react to it. Next up, we've got performance. Performance is your ability to, I guess like sing songs, tell stories, be in front of a lot of people and entertain them. That's generally what performance is. You'll have proficiency bonuses later on, and those proficiency bonuses will tell you what kind of instruments and things you can use and play. But your performance skill is just your ability to be able to be in front of people and in that situation flourish. All right. Next up, we've got persuasion. Persuasion is your ability to convince folks and how convincing you are in those conversations. And also, as opposed to intimidation, a lot of times I think with persuasion, you're getting your point across, and at the end of the day, the people like you for it. Like they get into what you're saying. They see your point of view. And the skill for making people sort of understand where you're coming from, I think is persuasion. Next up, we've got religion. So in fantasy worlds, there are a shitload of gods. And these gods have lore, and they've got deep lore. And you're going to want to have religion if you're someone who acts in a religious capacity like a cleric. You're going to want to know your god's rituals. You're going to want to know your god's history and backstory and all that stuff. And that's the purview of religion. Also, religion is, I guess, like connected to intelligence. I feel like that's also rough because a lot of times clerics, they need their wisdom for stuff and they don't have intelligence that is as high as their wisdom. But I mean, them's the breaks. Next up, we've got sleight of hand. So if you're someone who likes to live in a world that's kind of light optional, like you like maneuvering in the darkness and doing things like that, you're going to use sleight of hand. Sleight of hand is going to be used to, I guess, like to pick locks, to to purloin a purse, to take things that way. That you're going to use sleight of hand for that. Stealth is your ability to remain hidden in dark places, but also I think just kind of blend in to your surroundings. So if you're trying to, I guess, like hide amongst a bunch of leaves or navigate a busy marketplace and move between people to other people to get to a place you need to go to and not be noticed. Stealth is the skill for that. And then finally, in the skills section, we have survival. Survival is your ability to feed yourself in the woods, and it's really important when you're camping, and so much of this game is exploration. It's one of the pillars. You're going to be out in the woods, or you're going to be out in the forest, you're going to be out in the tundra and like the windswept cold, and you're going to need to know how to feed yourself and how to light a fire in those situations. If you don't have magic, magic fixes a lot of stuff. Magic will get you water. Magic will get you food. But in the early stages of your adventuring journey, you're going to need to have some ability to get food and water and all of that. And that is going to come from survival. And that ends our little area of skills. Wow, this is a lot of stuff. I'm glad we're going over this. Next up, we've got your character's armor class. Armor class is how hard your character is to hit. So if normally your armor class is composed of the number of the armor class of the armor plus a small value which is added from your dexterity. So you put those together and that becomes your armor class, and your armor class is how hard it is for someone to strike you. Additionally, if you're someone who just doesn't have a great dexterity score and you're just rocking out full plate armor, then that's what the armor just gives you your armor class. If someone is rolling to attack you and they roll under your armor class, they don't. If someone rolls to hit you and they hit your armor class number or above it, then they hit you and they can proceed to the damage doing portion of the combat. Next up, we've got initiative. Initiative is how fast your character goes when they're in a situation where they're in combat, in peril. Your initiative is going to determine when you go in that situation. It's super important for characters that are like spellcasters, I've found. Like, you just get a lot more mileage out of being able to go fast and change the landscape before the landscape is settled, right? Like, you get to determine what the fight is going to look like before it happens. So having a high initiative, if you're, I guess, like a wizard, or, I mean, it's nice if you're a cleric, but it's probably not going to be super high. But I mean, especially for a wizard, having, I guess, like a good initiative score is super, super important. Speed is how fast your character can move. Normally that is, I guess, like dependent upon whether your character is like walking or double moving or something like that. Certain creatures or classes will give you bonuses to, I guess, like your speed. Sometimes you get cool things like a climb speed or a swim speed or a flying speed. And I feel like those are pretty self-explanatory. If you've got a climb speed, you don't have to worry about athletics checks to stick to stuff. You just climb up stuff like a spider. It's pretty cool. All right, hit points. hit points are super important because when you have none of them, you are on the ground and you are making death saves. We'll go into death saves later on, probably in just a little bit, but you have a number of hit points which are determined by your class plus your constitution bonus. We'll circle back around to how important your constitution bonus is, and you get those assigned to you every level. The first couple levels of 5th edition can be pretty rough. I mean, the first two, if the balance for an encounter is wrong, your character doesn't have a lot of hit points, a lot of people can end up taking a dirt nap in those levels. But later on, you're going to have a whole bucket of hit points. You'll have things that will give you even more hit points, like aid and other stuff. Also, you have temporary hit points. Temporary hit points are things that are given to you by spells like Armor of Agathis and a bunch of other different spells. It's actually really not hard to get temporary hit points. They add to your hit point total. Normally, they are they're not really stackable. You can't stack them on top of one another. So if you get temporary hit points from one source and then you get temporary hit points from another source, the previous source of temporary hit points are going to be canceled out, and then you've got to deal with the new source of temporary hit points. Hit dice. Hit dice are how many, level dice you have, but also what kind of die it is. So if you are a 5th level so-and-so, if you're a 5th level ranger, you've got 5 hit dice. And if you're that class, then you will have 5d8. Oh man, I think that's wrong. I don't know if that's right. If you're a fighter, it's super easy. You get, however many d10. So we'll use the fighter example because I don't think the ranger example is correct. But yeah, that determines how many, and how big the hit dice is. The hit die for your character is. We've got death saves. So if your character is reduced to 0 or a little bit below, 0, they're down and they're making death saves. Death saves, kind of suck. You're rolling a d20. You're trying to get 11 or better to not die. Is it 10 or more? I'm not sure. You're making death saves to make sure you don't die. And if you make 3 of them in a row, your character is not going to die. They've got one hit point. They're incapacitated. If you fail all 3 times, and they're taking the big dirt nap, and you're trying to figure out maybe if you need to make a new character, or if there will be some kind of weird intercession of the fates that is going to bring your character back to life. Okay, so we've got space for the various weapons you can have underneath that. So if your character wields a badass greatsword, or a spear, or a longsword, or a quarterstaff, or a dagger, or a dirk, or something like that, you're going to be filling that out in the information underneath that. Equipment, I imagine, is pretty self-explanatory as well. That's where you're going to put all of the stuffy stuff that you get from your fun adventuring business. Your passive wisdom modifier, or your perception, is normally 10. So, okay, I guess we need to talk about that. So passive wisdom, your passive wisdom, your passive perception is your ability to just kind of notice stuff. And to be honest, I use it sometimes, but I don't employ it, I think, as much as you're supposed to, but that's just me and mine for my particular games. Normally it's 10 plus your perception, your wisdom modifier, plus your proficiency bonus, from your perception. And that number is normally pretty significant, and it means that a lot of surprising things can happen. I like surprises. So I like to just kind of implement passive perception if you're in a situation where things are ideal. You're in a situation where it's not dim light, you're not having a hard time noticing stuff, right? You're in a situation and you're not having any issues seeing the world around you. If it's dark or murky or foggy or any of those things, then I think that it's good to have people make more active wisdom checks. Makes it more fun, feels more dangerous. I like things to feel dangerous. I like things to feel kind of fast. I guess I never talked about the stuff that was at the top of the character sheet. I feel like that's self-explanatory, but we'll still go through it. So you got class and level. That's where you're going to put, I guess, like how many of what you are. So if you are like a 3rd level fighter, that goes there. If you're a 3rd level wizard, that also goes there. If you're 2 levels of warlock and whatever levels of paladin, that also, if you're 2 levels of warlock and whatever levels of paladin, that also goes there. I guess like your background. Your background is, I guess like we'll give you, I guess, bonus traits, some skills, maybe a feat, or it's probably a feat. It'll certainly in 2024 it gives you a feat. What am I talking about? There are a lot of classes, so you've got bard, you've got barbarian, you've got fighter, you've got druid, you have cleric, you have ranger, you have paladin, you have wizard, you have warlock, you have, I said druid, right? I said druid. Warlock, what else do you have? That's not all right. Damn it. I know all of them. I just don't know them off the top of my head. What other ones are there? There's another. Oh, monk. Monk's one of them. I had mentioned monk. Haha. Monk is one of them. I think that's it. That's all of them. I'm probably forgetting one. But we'll if the ones I'm missing will be down here because our editor is amazing. Like your player name. That's your name. You got it. Your character species. Your character species is going to give you, I guess, like certain kinds of bonuses, depending on what there are. There are so many of them now. There are lots.
Name them all.
I'm not doing that. You see your character's alignment. So alignment kind of works on the grid. You've got lawful, and then you've got your, I guess, like a lawful access, and you have a good access, and you sort of like maneuver those together to determine whether or not your character is good or neutral or evil or lawful or neutral or chaotic. And you I guess you put them together more sort of as something that will help give you a sense of how you should play your characters if situations arise. And your experience points, if you don't do milestone, you just write down the experience points. I feel like most people use milestone experience now. But hey, if you use I guess like the big number experience kinds of games for stuff, cool. Like I do that. I use like a big number for the game I'm running, and I don't know if my players like it. I like it because it's fun, because it's math. And all right, that's kind of the basics of the character sheet. Like that's the front page. There's spells and stuff too, but the character sheet that I was looking at didn't have that, so I'm not going to go over that. There is a spell section though, and then you put your spells there. But all right, so that's that. I know I did a mid job of describing the character sheet stuff, but I mean, I think it's a great place to put your ideas down and start playing the game before you start playing the game. I think that's one of the genius things about character sheets. They spark so much inspiration and imagination of all the potential of everything that you can make in this entire wonderful fantasy universe that we all love to play in. I think that character sheets are super awesome. But let us know. Tell us your take on character sheets, how you feel about character sheets, how much you like them, or if you think they're dumb and you want to play games that completely do away with them. I don't know if anyone's going to say that, but maybe if you do. And if you like this kind of content, hit like and subscribe. Thank you very much for checking us out here at the Big Bad Dungeon, where we believe great games deserve great stories. Have a wonderful day.